them all what I'm made up. Strut down the hall, won't stop till I get enough.
Okay, so you know how some leagues in Europe get more teams in the Champions League, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why does the Premier League only get 4, but other leagues get more or less?
Right.
Have you ever thought about how they decide that?
Yeah. It's not just random, is it?
It's not random at all, and it's actually a pretty interesting system when you really get into it.
It is, yeah.
So today we're going to deep dive into UEFA coefficients
Right?
and how this whole system works, because it turns out the Premier League
Yeah.
is very likely to be getting another Champions League spot.
An extra one, exactly.
Like an extra spot for one of their teams, so they might have 5 teams in the Champions League next year.
Potentially, yeah. That's what we're looking at.
And this is all because of how well Premier League teams have been doing.
Yeah.
And we actually have a really interesting article from Sky Sports that kind of breaks all this down for us.
Okay. Sounds good.
So that's what we're going to be looking at today.
All right.
Okay, so let's talk UEFA coefficients.
Right.
This is basically like a ranking system.
It is, yeah.
And it's for all the different football associations in Europe.
That's right.
So you've got like England,
England?
Spain, Germany, all of them.
Yep. All the UEFA members.
They're all ranked based on how their clubs perform in European competitions.
Exactly. And that's the important thing. It's about the clubs, not just the national teams.
Right. So it's like
Yeah.
taking all the English teams that are in like the Champions League, the Europa League.
Yeah. Conference League, all of them.
How are they doing?
Exactly how they do collectively as a group.
So it's not like if one team wins the Champions League, suddenly England is the best.
No. No, it's much more than that. It's about consistent performance across the board.
Okay, so it's like a league-wide report card for European football.
I like that analogy. Yeah. A report card that shows how well a league's teams are doing in Europe.
So it's like a strength in numbers kind of thing, right?
Exactly. You need a good spread of strong teams all doing well in Europe to get a high coefficient.
And this is all calculated over a certain number of years.
Yeah, usually they take into account the past 5 seasons, I believe.
So it's not just a one-season wonder type of deal.
No, it's about sustained success, which makes it even more interesting.
Makes a lot of sense.
And that's why this potential extra Champions League spot for the Premier League is so significant.
Right, because the Premier League is probably going to get another Champions League spot.
That's what it's looking like, yeah.
And, you know, those top 4 spots are already so fiercely contested.
Absolutely. Every year it's a battle.
So why are we even talking about a potential 5th spot?
Well, it's all down to how well Premier League teams have been doing in Europe this season.
Okay, so they're actually earning that extra spot.
Yeah, they're earning it through their results across all the UEFA competitions.
So that means the Champions League, the Europa League, even the Conference League?
All of them.
Yeah.
Yep. Every single result contributes to the overall coefficient.
So it's like the Premier League is on this huge point streak.
It is. And they're climbing up the rankings, which is why they're in line for this extra Champions League place.
Wow, that's wild.
And a big part of that is actually down to the new format of the Champions League that's coming in next season.
Oh, interesting. So the format is changing.
It is, yeah. And part of that change includes giving extra spots to the top performing leagues.
So it's like rewarding the leagues that are doing really well?
Precisely the ones that are consistently sending strong teams deep into the European competitions.
So the better your teams do, the more likely your league is to get one of these extra spots.
That's the idea. It's designed to make the Champions League even more competitive and showcase the best of European football.
Got it. So it's not just about who wins on the day, it's about this long-term performance of an entire league.
Exactly. It's a fascinating system when you think about it.
It is. I mean, it's way more complicated than I thought.
It does have its complexities, but that's what makes it so intriguing.
Yeah, for sure.
And it leads to some really interesting scenarios, like this potential 5th Champions League spot for the Premier League.
Yeah, and I was looking at this article from Sky Sports about this, and they were talking about how Arsenal's recent win over Real Madrid actually played a big part in this.
Oh, yeah. That was a huge result for the Premier League's coefficient.
Really?
Yeah, big time. Because beating a team like Real Madrid, especially in the Champions League, earns a lot of coefficient points.
So it's not just that Arsenal won, it's who they beat and in what competition.
Exactly. The further you go in a competition and the stronger your opponent, the more points you earn for your league.
Oh, wow. So Arsenal beating Real Madrid was like a double whammy for the Premier League?
Absolutely. It was a fantastic result for Arsenal, but it also had a big impact on the overall standing of the Premier League in the coefficient rankings.
That's so cool.
It shows how interconnected everything is in European football.
Yeah, because usually when we talk about football, we're thinking about individual teams and their rivalries,
Right.
like Arsenal versus Tottenham.
Manchester United versus Liverpool.
But when it comes to Europe, it's like all the English teams are kind of on the same team.
In a way, yeah, they're all contributing to the same goal, which is to boost the Premier League's coefficient.
So it's like they're rivals domestically, but teammates in Europe.
I like that way of putting it. It's a nice way to sum it up.
That is really cool.
And it makes this whole coefficient thing even more fascinating to follow.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, let's say the Premier League does get this extra Champions League spot.
Okay.
How do they actually decide which team gets to fill that spot?
Right. So it's not as straightforward as just giving it to the fifth place team.
Right.
Because the way it works is the extra spot is awarded to the league itself.
Okay, so the Premier League gets the spot, not a specific team.
Exactly. And then they decide how to allocate that spot within their own league.
So how do they usually do that?
Well, the most likely scenario is that it goes to the highest ranked team that hasn't already qualified for the Champions League.
Okay, so it's like whoever's next in line.
Yeah, basically. So if the top four have already qualified through their league position, then it would likely go to the fifth place team.
But it's not automatic.
It's not automatic. They could have a different system in place.
Yeah.
But that's the most common way to do it.
Interesting. Okay, so let's say you're just a regular football fan. Why should you even care about this whole UEFA coefficient business?
Well, for starters, it means more English teams in the Champions League.
Okay. More teams to cheer for.
Exactly. And that means more exciting matches, more drama, more of everything that makes the Champions League so great.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind that.
Plus, it's not just about the fans. The clubs themselves benefit massively from being in the Champions League.
Oh, right. The money.
The money, the prestige, the exposure. It's a huge deal for any club.
So it's like a win-win for everyone involved.
Pretty much, yeah. It raises the profile of the league, and
Yeah.
it gives more clubs a chance to compete at the highest level.
And you know what else I think it's going to do?
What's that?
It's going to make that race for the top four even more intense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because now there's potentially 5 spots up for grabs.
All right, so a team that might have been content with a Europa League spot might now be thinking, hey, we can push for the Champions League.
And that could change everything about how they approach the season, their transfers, their whole strategy.
It could definitely have a ripple effect throughout the entire league.
That's so exciting.
It makes the Premier League even more unpredictable and competitive, which is great for the fans.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go back to Arsenal for a second, because I want to understand why their win against Real Madrid was such a big deal for the coefficient.
Sure.
Like, why does that one result matter so much?
Well, remember how we said that UEFA awards points based on results and progression in their competitions?
Yeah.
Well, a win in the Champions League knockout stage against a team like Real Madrid is worth a lot of points.
So it's like a bonus for beating a top team.
Exactly. And those bonus points can really add up, especially when you're talking about a team like Real Madrid, who have such a strong history in the competition.
So it's like they're a coefficient heavyweight.
In a way, yeah, they carry a lot of weight in the rankings. So beating them is a significant achievement.
So Arsenal's win wasn't just a great result for them. It was a great result for the entire Premier League.
Precisely. It gave the Premier League a nice boost in the coefficient rankings, which is why it's being highlighted as a key factor in their quest for that extra Champions League spot.
That makes a lot of sense.
And it really reinforces the point that the UEFA coefficient system is all about rewarding leagues that consistently perform well in Europe.
Okay, so it's not just about one team having a good season. It's about multiple teams performing well over a number of years.
Exactly. It's about establishing a pattern of success, which the Premier League is certainly doing at the moment.
So the Premier League's current position at the top of the coefficient rankings is a testament to the strength of the league as a whole.
Absolutely. It shows that the Premier League is one of the most competitive and exciting leagues in Europe, and that its teams are capable of competing with the best in the world.
Okay, so let's just recap everything we've talked about today, because there's been a lot of information.
Oh, good.
UEFA coefficients are this system for ranking football leagues in Europe.
Right.
And it's based on how the clubs from those leagues perform in European competitions, like the Champions League and the Europa League.
That's it.
The Premier League is doing really well in those competitions right now.
Very well.
And they're on track to potentially get an extra Champions League spot.
Yeah, an additional spot for one of their teams.
And one of the reasons for that is Arsenal's recent win over Real Madrid, which was a huge boost for their coefficient.
A big boost for sure.
So basically, the Premier League is reaping the rewards of its team's success in Europe.
That's a great way to put it. It's a collective effort, and it's paying off.
And this is all really important because it could have a big impact on the landscape of English football in the years to come.
Absolutely.
Imagine the race for those Champions League spots. It's already so intense. But now, with a potential fifth spot up for grabs, it's going to be even more cutthroat.
Right, and we might see teams changing their strategies, their transfer targets, even their managers, all because of this extra Champions League spot.
It's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
It is, and it's a great example of how the UEFA coefficient system can have a ripple effect throughout the entire football world.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've covered pretty much everything there is to know about UEFA coefficients and this potential extra Champions League spot for the Premier League.
I think so. Yeah, we've delved pretty deep into it.
So for all you listeners out there, keep an eye on those coefficient rankings because things are about to get really interesting.
They are indeed, and who knows, maybe we'll see even more Premier League teams in the Champions League in the future.
That would be something, wouldn't it?
It certainly would, and it's definitely a possibility given the current trend.
Well, on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of UEFA coefficients.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, keep those football debates going.
Always.
See you later.
See ya.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have the ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.